So welcome to the Wilmot Township Council meeting. I'll now read the recommendation that the regular council meeting held on October 21st, 2024 be called to order at 7:00 p.m. May I have a mover? And Councillor Dunstall moved and Councillor Cressman seconded. I'll now call the vote. All in favor? I will read the territorial land acknowledgement. We've gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective assembly to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community. There are a few additions to the agenda. We have the following additions. Item 8.1.1, Barry Wolf under CAO 2-2024-11-2024 Strategic Action Plan. So delegation, and also a delegation item 8.1.2, Sandra Glaze, item 11.4, CS-2024-28-2024 Community Services Master Plan, and also item number 9.2, correspondence from Mike Rice regarding Waterloo EDC, clarifying a common set of facts about the Wilmot Land Assembly. So I'll read the recommendation that the agenda as presented for October 21, 2024 be adopted as amended. May I have a mover and a seconder? So Councillor Cressman moved, Councillor Dunstall seconded. I'll now call the vote in favor of the agenda. Thank you. And Councillor Wilkinson is online, and I will try to look up at you as well and make sure I don't miss any of your votes or moves, seconding, etc. So disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Does any member of council have a disclosure of pecuniary interest that they would like to declare? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. The minutes of the previous meeting, I'll read the recommendation that the minutes of October 7th, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Councillor Sidhu and Councillor Dunstall seconded. Call the vote for those minutes. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, I guess everybody voted in favor. And you may find me stumbling. I'm not, this isn't my usual place of spot where I sit. So if I stumble, I apologize. Our mayor was not able to be here tonight. So we have two presentations this evening. There's the Reep Green Solutions 2023-2024 Impact Report. Patrick Gilbride, Executive Director, and I believe you're here on your own tonight. So welcome. We have another presentation as well. But Patrick, if you're ready, I will call you forward. Patrick Gilbride, Executive Director for the Climate Adaptation Programs of Reep Green Solutions, to present your 2023-2024 Impact Report. You have 10 minutes in total. So welcome here.
Thank you. Do I need to... The mic's already on? Yep, I think so, yeah. So, thank you very much, Chair Martin. You're doing a great job so far. So, good evening to councillors, staff. We're here to present our latest impact report, and to tell you a few of the stories of Wilmot and Waterloo residents' contribution to that, as we would like to do every year. So, next slide, please. First off, we want to acknowledge that our co-founder, University of Waterloo's Paul Parker, who's pictured on the left, has retired from our board last year, as well as Mary Jane Patterson, who served in the executive director role for 22 years. But as you can see, they've left quite a legacy of passionate staff and volunteers who work every day on our mission to provide the community with the practical tools and knowledge to pursue their sustainability journeys. Next, please. Back in 2020, we set a goal to empower 10,000 meaningful actions by the year 2030. This report marks our third year of tracking those actions of people in our community. And as you can see, people are hungry to get involved in climate change solutions. 2,000 of those actions were just recorded in the past year, which marks an acceleration of interest in everything from installing heat pumps to flood-proofing entire neighborhoods. With the wind down of the Greener Homes incentives programs from the federal government, we're in danger of losing this important momentum. So we'd just like to highlight a few of those stories of community members over the next bit of the presentation. So Corinne needed to replace her doors and windows, which is very common. It is actually the most common upgrade in Wilmot Township that we observed. But after having her energy evaluation, Reep's energy advisor highlighted some other opportunities to further improve her 70-year-old home's energy efficiency. Corinne invested in a heat pump, added insulation strategically, and draft-proofed in key areas of her home, in addition to replacing the doors and windows, and as a result ended up with an improvement of 32% reduction in her energy costs year over year. Last year we visited 662 homes like Corinne's. The Greener Homes grant started to wind down towards the end of the year, and because of that, there has not been a new program to replace it, but some people have taken advantage. There are CMHC loans, interest-free loans of up to $40,000, which some people have taken advantage of. Next, please. Of course, many in our community aren't yet established homeowners, but we still have an important role to play. At our English conversation circles, we've met with newcomers to our community to talk about energy literacy. Reep staff provided tips on basic information like how to interpret their energy bill and simple ways to reduce their energy consumption to make their day-to-day bills, monthly bills, more affordable. Our water quality is of critical importance. The wells where we draw our drinking water are increasingly under threat from salt that is used in the winter. Through a program run through the region of Waterloo, we help to educate both residential and business owners about ways to reduce their salt use for winter maintenance. Next, please. Participants in our Healthy Yards and Neighborhoods programs receive an in-person consultation from one of our advisors. Over the past year, property owners with our help have installed 724 Healthy Yards features, everything from rain gardens, permeable paving, and native tree plantings, which help to reduce stormwater runoff from entering our local waterways and expand our tree canopy. As one of our participants says, the increasing number of rain gardens in the city is helping people feel like they're making a positive impact on the climate crisis. Building upon this work, we are using data and mapping tools to better understand where climate vulnerability is highest in our community. Our new community canopy program, for example, enables us to be much more intentional about how we serve those who live in those vulnerable neighborhoods that have the lowest tree canopy and also face the highest barriers to planting trees. This approach is an integral strategy for us going forward and to adapt our communities to the bigger storms and heat waves we know will continue to intensify in the coming years. Reep's vision is to leave our children a more caring, resilient, and sustainable future. That's why our tree nursery that we've started up at Rare Charitable Research Reserve in North Dumfries fits perfectly within that vision. This is the nursery's first year of operation, and it's been a true barn-raising effort to get to this point. Volunteers have helped to collect local seed, and this spring helped to plant them. By using locally collected sleeve exclusively, we can be assured that the trees that we grow will be naturally adapted to our climate. And by empowering volunteers in the process, we are future-proofing against climate change. And notably, a lot of the seed that is getting collected is from volunteers in Wilmot within some of the local woodlots. Thinking ahead to future generation is baked into our vision, but we also seek to honor our community's past. Our Tree Trust program uses donation to care for our legacy trees, which often predate the modernization of our urban cities. By working with an arborist to provide proper care for our legacy trees, we are able to extend the lives of these trees and continue to benefit from their shade and many other gifts. Back in 2023, we hosted a Tree of the Year campaign where we celebrated legacy trees from across Waterloo Region, including in New Hamburg. We co-lead climate action with Sustainable Waterloo Region in partnership with all of our area municipalities. This year, we released the 2022 inventory report, which demonstrates the urgency for us to reduce emissions from our travel and buildings where we live and work. And if people aren't sure where to start, we offer Taking on Climate Change workshops to guide participants on which actions to prioritize in their everyday lives. And while not everyone is able to do a deep retrofit on their home or ride a bike to work, they are still able to make a meaningful contribution. Our Zero Waste Challenge is a fun way, everyone who produces waste, including our pets, can participate. The experience itself can be truly revelatory. I've been doing the 1 month challenge for the month of October. I actually forgot my jar, which is just as well because it's overflowing and I had to start a new one. But there's still an opportunity to join in the 7-day challenge, which starts this Thursday. But I really encourage people to try it. It's really a no judgment free zone where people can really understand the waste streams that flow through their households and how we can contribute to reducing it. Next, please. In terms of our financials, we saw significant growth in our fee-for-service revenue as people scheduled home energy evaluations while the federal Greener Homes rebates were still available. Those earnings will help to provide some financial stability for us this year and into the future as we experience lower demand for those energy evaluations. And over the next year,
so there's 1 minute left.
Okay, I just got one more slide after this. So over the next year, we'll invest in targeted program development to enable the community to reduce their home's climate impact without the reliance on these government incentive programs, which go up and down. Next, please. And finally, we'd like to say thank you to everyone around the Horseshoe. We couldn't do it without you. We're grateful for the support that you offer in all its many forms. Mayor Salonen, who couldn't be here tonight, is part of Regional Council, and the region is one of our core funders, as well as ANOVA, which I know Wilmot participants in as well. So we'd also like to take the quick opportunity to say special thanks to the municipal staff that we get to work with all year long. In particular, we're looking forward to working with Harold Okrafka, who is our new point person for our Climate Action WR program. And while not staff, the good people at Let's Tree Wilmot for their important work to conserve and expand our tree canopy. That's my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Do members of council have any questions, comments for Patrick? Councillor Cressman.
Yes, through you, Mayor, or Acting Mayor, just whatever term you want tonight. Do you capture the tree planting that occurs through the rural water quality program in the region? Because having been on that committee for a number of years, and the amount of trees that were planted on the edges of streams, etc., to improve water quality and the trees is significant, and I think that should be captured again as a way. It's just not about cities, it's about rural areas as well. Yeah. And so I think I said this in previous years, and I think we have to capture some of those efforts as well as we look at impacting our green environment.
Through you, Chair. So we don't actually quantify those numbers, but GRCA does do a lot of really good work around that. It is captured as part of the region's climate adaptation plan, which we participate in. And we are looking at bringing tree programs to rural areas. Like there's a great shining example in Woolwich that we're looking to actually replicate and have a proposal that we're bringing forward with the region of Waterloo to try and get funding through the 2 Billion Trees program, so that we can potentially plant in addition and enhance what's happening with the GRCA. So.
Thank you, Patrick. I don't know if Let's Tree Wilmot has any information on that as well, because they're separate as also, like they have their own program and have received funding for that. That's different than yours.
In parallel, yeah, they've certainly, like I said, we do work closely with them, but they have received their own funding stream, and I know they've applied for additional funds, and I think they're just in the waiting process right now.
Any other questions, Council? Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. I've had Reep come to my house twice, but it hasn't been since 2020, so I'm not part of that 2020 to 2030 program, but I've certainly benefited in the past from having Reep come to my house. I'm in a 125-year-old house, and so it's very helpful to have your colleagues, the experts, so thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So our second report is on the Strategic Action Plan. Kelly Linton, and I notice, now that I'm sitting in this chair, I can't think, are you both presenting? Oh, okay, because I've forgotten your name, I'm sorry, but Andy, right, okay. So Kelly, welcome. I invite you to come in and present. Kelly Linton of Linton Consulting Services, and you also have 10 minutes for your presentation.
I'll be nice and speedy. And I'm here to answer whatever questions once it gets in the staff. You have a final report and an executive summary, and I'm good to answer whatever questions you have tonight when it gets into the staff portion. So to the acting mayor and members of council, it's great for me to be here. It was a great project, and Andy and I really enjoyed working with Wilmot, and I think together we did some really good work. So this executive summary just highlights it, and the final report gets into a lot more detail. I can obviously answer whatever questions you have after that. Let me just go to the agenda, please. So a little bit about the project objectives, the key success factors, the approach that we took, what we heard from the community, highlight the 4 goals and the core values, look at the strategic priorities and actions, and then cap it off with the next steps and tracking progress to finish this project up. Next. So again, just to refresh our memories, the objective of this project was to create a results-focused action plan that enabled both council and your senior management team to establish a common vision, outline priorities, and then, as important, track and communicate progress. Outcomes, input from council staff, the community, and we wanted to end with goals and priorities. This had to be a roadmap for action, and we wanted to make sure that we got a shared vision from members of council and the management team. Next, please. Leadership team. We started this project off with some really good one-on-one interviews, and the leadership team, both council and the senior management team, were very clear to me in those interviews. This project had to do the following: develop a shared vision, achieve common ground among members of council, community input to validate that we're on the right track, clear and simple language that would be understood by all readers, action-oriented to enable the effective tracking of progress, and then finally, achievable by ensuring that we're not making promises or setting expectations that are outside the municipality's sphere of authority. So that was our marching orders at the beginning of this project. Next page. Our approach that we took, we started off, as I mentioned, in one-on-one interviews with the leadership team. Whenever I say leadership team, it's staff and council. We had a resident questionnaire, 626 responses, which is really good feedback. A staff questionnaire, 61 responses, really good feedback from staff. We had 2 leadership team sessions on June the 18th and August 12th. There's a couple pictures from those fun and exciting days. Then we had a couple focus group sessions on September the 19th, just to validate the goals and to get some input from the community. Next page. Again, the final report has a lot more detail. I just wanted to provide a couple little highlights here. What we heard from residents to the question of what makes Wilmot a great place to live. A full 80% selected small town feel and friendly people. Not surprising, as either their first, second, or third preferred choice, followed by 58% who selected outdoor open space parks and trails as either their first, second, or third preferred choice. The most important local government service was fire and emergency services, followed closely by the maintenance of local roads. Some common themes and concerns that emerged from the community input sessions centered around financial stability, improved transparency and communication from the municipality, and a need to rebuild trust. From staff, one of the top responses to the question ranked the following challenge that you think requires the attention during this council term. Overwhelming, 75% was improve the township's finances, and then down at around 45% was do something about the cost of living and housing affordability. So by far, 75% look after the finances of the municipality. We came up with 4 goals, very inspirational goals, clearly established a statement that reflects what that goal means. So the first one, financial stability, build a solid financial foundation to support our community now and in the future. Goal 2, healthy community, provide core services and build strong community partnerships. Goal 3, prosperous businesses and balanced growth, facilitate responsible growth, providing opportunities to live and work in Wilmot. And goal 4, trustworthy leadership, foster a positive and respectful working environment, engaging and serving our community. So underneath all of those goals, I'll go into each one very briefly. We have some strategic priorities on the left-hand side, and then I've just provided a few action highlights here. Overall, there's 39 specific actions that you see in the final report. I'm not talking about all those right now because I couldn't do that in 10 minutes. But I wanted to give a little bit of a highlight. So financial stability, 2 strategic priorities there. 1, taking a long-term evidence-based approach to determine infrastructure renewal priorities and timelines. And then 2, diversifying our revenue sources to reduce reliance on residential taxpayer. And then several very specific actions fall underneath those 2 priorities. Okay, next page. Goal 2, a healthy community. 3 strategic priorities, developing valuable core services and programs. 2, expanding healthy living and recreation opportunities. And 3, working with our community partners to enhance our quality of life. Again, under those strategic priorities, if you see in the final document, there's a few actions that fit underneath those. Very measurable, very deliberate, very specific. Next goal. Prosperous businesses and balanced growth. So 1 is encouraging well-planned growth while preserving our rural heritage and small-town character. Support local businesses and provide housing options, protecting our natural environment. And again, some very specific actions that fit underneath those, all that have time frames so that you can track the action. And the last goal is trustworthy leadership, enhancing the township's reputation through meaningful community engagement, continuously improving our day-to-day operations to be more effective, efficient and customer focused, and 3, fostering a culture of excellence and professionalism. Again, several very specific actions that fit underneath those 3 strategic priorities. Those are the 4 goals. We also recognize the importance of moving ahead with some core values as something that really set a strong foundation. There is, we came up with 6 core values: work together. I'm not going to read them out. Work together, knowing that effective communication and genuine teamwork is important. Open and transparent, having open and honest discussions was seen as being something that was absolutely critical. Being respectful, even when we don't agree with each other, committed to demonstrate that we value each other's opinions, and that goes across from both council to staff and staff to staff and council to council. 4, informed decisions. Next page, please. Informed decisions. So it's important that your discussions start with facts, and that's the way that you build common ground and contribute to evidence-based decision making. 5 was courageous. Committed to working together, doing the right things in the right ways, even when those decisions are difficult or unpopular. And the 6th one is resilient. We recognize that you'll face difficult times, committed to work together as a strong team to persevere through hard times. So really those are the core values that the team came up with. I think they're very inspirational. So then the final product, so moving into what we're going to produce for you, this is not the final product that the community will see, this is for your purposes, but we'll work with our in-house designers to develop a strategic action plan that's designed to be read by the whole community. So there are a couple examples from recent Linton deliverables. We take a lot of pride in that. Our designers are working behind the scenes right now, and it'll be word for word what council approves in this strategic action plan. And then finally, progress tracker. It's equally important to developing good strategic priorities and goals to be able to track them and making sure that you're delivering the things that you said mean the most to this community. So we'll be providing, that's the first page of a progress tracker that's to be used by staff to demonstrate to council that you're tracking on every single actionable measure that you've identified. So this is something that can be used quarterly, biannually, whatever the municipality decides on. But the idea is to make sure that these things are being tracked and progress, and anytime you run into a hiccup, that's noted, and council is well aware of it and can address it. So that's the end of my quick presentation. On behalf of Andy and myself, really appreciated having the opportunity to work with Wilmot. I thought we made a really good team. We had some fun at the sessions. We really liked it. I'm convinced that if council moves ahead with this strategic action plan, you're in excellent shape to deliver some positive results for your community. Thanks for the opportunity.
So thank you, Kelly. And first of all, let me say thank you. I appreciated your leadership and the way that you led the sessions when you were with council and the leadership team. But secondly, I should not have said 10 minutes because we hired you and you're coming to report. There actually wasn't a 10-minute time limit. So did I rush you? Was there anything else that you wanted to say?
Well, I spoke a little faster than I normally do, but I want to respect the rules. I was at the head of council for a while, and I appreciate it when councilors stuck by the rules. So that's what I just tried to do. But I'm available for any questions that you have.
So members of council, do you have, okay, Councillor Dunstall?
Thank you, through your excellency. Kelly, I would like to thank you and Andy. You did a great job. What I wanted to know was, do you ever go back to the councils that you've worked with before to see if some of the recommendations that they came up with have been implemented and if they've been tracking them, if they've been successful? Do you ever do that, or?
Yeah, we haven't yet. I just got a call actually last week about doing that with another client. They've put things in place, and then 2 years, they're one of the first out of the gates. So their strategic plan was done in early 2023. And so they want Andy and I to come back and do, how are we tracking, and do a little bit of a refresh. So we were invited to do that from time to time. Yeah.
Councillor Cressman?
Yes, through you, Acting Mayor. Wondering, in terms of consecutive strategic plans in the same location, is that routine practice, or is that, do different councils try to get a set of fresh eyes in for strategic plans, consecutive strategic plans?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I know we've gotten some strategic planning work when another consultant was there the last time around, and I'm just happy to get it. But I think, like, you know, if I remember back to the sessions, you folks did the hard work. Like, Andy and I facilitated it, but what we came up with is really driven by the nature of the consultation. So, you know, whether you have another facilitator, the facilitation has to be good, but the quality of it really comes down to the participants. And I thought we came up with some really, we had some really difficult things that we had to talk through, and you guys came through. So, you know, I'd love to do another, I'd love to work with Wilmot again, so I don't want to disqualify myself by answering another way.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I was trying to understand what normal practice is. I know often that when it comes to accountants, you look for, you might deal with the same firm, but you might deal with a separate fresh eyes. I thought, you know, maybe when you do strategic plans, the ability to have the same firm in and do two different council terms allows a retrospective look as well as a forward look.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to gain information, not put you on the spot here.
No, and I don't feel on the spot at all. Like I can see it from your perspective too. It often depends on the nature and the dynamics of the council that you have. Like some councillors want to have a completely fresh look, and they want to bring in somebody else, or they want to do it internally, and that's, every council is kind of different. And other councils, you know, if they had a good experience, they want to bring the same consultant in, or vice versa. If they didn't have a good experience, they want to bring in somebody else. So it really, I can't tell you a trend. It's all over the map. It's all over the map.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor Sidhu.
Thank you, through the chair, to Kelly. Thank you for that presentation. Just a quick question about your survey. I believe it's 620 some people. That's about 2.5% of the population. In your experience, by doing previous strat plans for other municipalities, what kind of engagement numbers do you typically get?
Yeah, so 626 responses. That's the best we've had. Like as far as citizens who are not doing a survey in opposition to something, it's like. It's really difficult to get feedback, but 600, I imagine if you had 626 people in this room right now, right? Like it's a good feedback. And I think if you ask other consultants, when I've talked to them about it, because I know we had that conversation in the second session, right? And you know, is 626 good? Is it too low? But if you talk to other municipalities who have done it, I would venture a guess that not too many have that uptake. I definitely haven't seen it. So I think it's good. I mean, yeah, for sure. If you could get, you know, if you can get more people, the more the better. And if there's other ways to do it differently, but I consider it a success.
Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through your worship. Kelly, I was just wondering, did you keep track of the demographic?
Yeah.
You did?
Yes, we did.
Do you have that? I would just be interested to know what that demographic looked like. Thank you.
Yeah, it's in the final report, so just let me pull it up for a sec. It's in the appendices. No, I got it here. Oh, no, maybe I didn't pull it out for this. Yeah, no, I don't have it off the top of my head. I'll have it by the time you do your staff, when you do your staff report, I'll have it by then. Yeah, no, it is interesting for sure. I'll have it by then.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Other members of Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair, I hope you're, pardon me, able to hear me okay. Yeah, I actually concur with what Councillor Dunstall was saying. I'm hopeful that we can see the expanded demographics in some form. I mean, maybe just the raw data of all the questions that were asked and any collection or data points that are related to that. That would be, I think, very useful. But my question to you, Kelly, is more so around the progress tracker. I mean, I like the idea that we're going to be tracking the progress here and hopefully getting regular updates, but I'm wondering if you've seen anything that might be more expansive than what's presented here. I mean, I like that you've kind of got the action outlined, but in terms of percentage completion, I guess it's sort of left up to discretion of whoever's working on it. Is there a way or a practice in the past that you've seen where they really expand those actions out to hit key milestones and completion points?
Yeah, that's a good question, Councillor. So this is meant to be a pretty kind of high level, and the comments section is there so that staff can give a little bit of explanation about percentage complete. But in addition to this, you can picture, like, I could provide your CAO also with kind of an Excel spreadsheet that kind of goes that next layer down and starts to put it in terms of what departments are doing what. And that kind of kickstarts the process of developing a real good work plan to pursue these measures. But what you see, what I demonstrated here is probably like every action there. It's kind of for a high level view to show council in its governance role, how are we tracking and any kind of barriers that we're seeing. So that's kind of the purpose behind it, but I can work with your CAO to get you something a little more detailed.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Other questions from council? Okay, seeing none, then thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Kelly and Andy, for your leadership, and we'll look forward to the ongoing process.
Thank you very much.
So this evening we have two specific interest delegations who have registered to address council this evening. The delegations won't be right this minute, but I'll just go through the procedure. I would like to remind all delegations of some guidelines for participation. For those who are joining us in person, please proceed to the podium when you're called upon to speak. Delegations will have 7 minutes to speak. If you conduct yourself in any of the following manners, it will result in immediate removal from the meeting, interrupting councillors, staff, or other delegations, derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or others, turning your camera on at inappropriate times, and hate speech or defamatory comments. One last reminder for delegations, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. Although it is rare, I would like to remind delegates and members of the public that failure to adhere to appropriate decorum may result in your microphone being muted and/or removal from the meeting. Out of respect for all meeting participants, I kindly ask that those in the gallery remain seated unless exiting the chambers, and avoid personal conversations and expressions of support or opposition to those speaking in order to allow everyone to hear the proceedings as they occur. So we have two specific interest delegations, 8.1.1, item 11.1, CAO 2024-11, 2024 Strategic Action Plan. Barry Wolf is here. And 8.1.2, item 11.4, CS-2024-28, 2024 Community Services Master Plan. Sandra Glaze is here. So next item, item number 9, under correspondence, we have two pieces of correspondence on the agenda. If a member would like to discuss either of them, please indicate so now. Seeing no movement on that, we'll move to item number 10, the consent agenda. If any member of council wants to remove an item from the consent agenda, please indicate so now. I will now read the recommendation that, do I wait here or do I read the recommendation first? Oh, okay, so first, but I didn't really look, so I should look, does anybody want to pull any items from the consent agenda? Okay, so I'll read the recommendation that the consent agenda items 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, and 10.5 be approved. May I have a mover, Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Sidhu. Any questions, comments? Yes, Councillor Cressman?
Excuse me, I would like to discuss 10.5, but it wasn't listed in the consent agenda. It stopped at 10.4. If I got mine.
Okay, yep. Either way, it's fine. So we'll pull 10.5 from the consent agenda. So are we discussing that now first, before voting, or vote on the... Okay, so we're voting on 10.1 to 10.4, and we're pulling 10.5. Is that okay with council? All right. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor of consent agenda? So that is unanimous by council. I didn't announce the voting on the previous time, so did I say that properly? Very good. I look to my expert on my left, and she's keeping me in line for the meeting. Okay, so then this is 10.5. So then now would I just read that recommendation? So this is 10.5 IS-2024-38 Annual Guide Rail Program Award of Contract. The Council award RFT 2024-18 Annual Guide Rail Program to Royal Fence Limited of Dorchester, Ontario, as per their tender submission on October the 9th, 2024, in the amount of $387,188.50 plus the HST. Do I have, to get it on the floor for discussion, do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. So now comments, Councillor Cressman, you have.
Yes, and this was a question that I raised with Director, through you, Mayor, with Director Mullenhouse earlier in the day, and had a brief conversation prior to council tonight. And it regarded access for a farm gate that accessed a woodlot in the general area where this guide rail is going. And I was told that normal approach is to discuss it with the two landowners that would be potentially impacted prior to construction. So I promised that I'd bring it up to the landowners that were concerned, and I have been assured that they will be had the opportunity of discussing it prior to installation. So thank you, Director.
So is there anything that needs to be said further, or shall I ask Director Mullenhouse?
Through you, Acting Mayor. I guess just in terms of what Councillor Cressman is speaking to, typically in the design process, we would obviously have site-specific design processes that would identify some of those points of, we'll call it conflict, and maybe need some specific design considerations. Through that design process, we would address those locations, but typically when we do have construction activity, that would be in proximity to or would impact a driveway location, we would deal with the owner specifically during the course, or prior to, I should say, not during the course of construction, prior to construction, we'll be in contact with them.
Thank you, Director Mullenhouse. Did that answer the question? Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions on 10.5? Seeing none, all those in favor? So that's unanimous. So unanimous vote on that. On next item, item number 11, reports, CAO 2024-11, 2024 Strategic Action Plan. I'll read the recommendation that the report CAO 2024-11 be received and that the 2024 Strategic Action Plan as presented in attachment 2 be approved. Do I have mover and seconder? Councillor Dunstall moved, Councillor Cressman seconded. I will now invite Acting Chief Administrative Officer, Director of Corporate Services, CFO Greg Clark, to introduce the report, and I apologize for stumbling over your titles.
Thank you, Chair. That's okay. I have enough acting right now, and you're doing a great job as a chair, so I'll leave that for you. Yes, so we just had Kelly and Andy's presentation around the strategic action plan, and so this report just outlines basically what they went through, highlights the good work that we did, the engagement. I do want to reiterate, in my experience in other municipalities, getting a 2 to 3% response rate is really good. It seems counterintuitive, but honestly, getting that level of engagement from the public is a really good sign that we have an engaged citizens, and then also the turnout at the 2 engagement sessions that Kelly and Andy undertook on September 19th, I think also reflects the engagement level within the community. And I'm really happy with the work that they've done. I think we've come to a really solid, succinct level of goals and objectives that are achievable over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years of this term of council. I know it overlaps a little bit, but taking the work that we have to do into the next term of council and the administrative staff here support what's in this document wholeheartedly and feel that we have the resources and the capability to start moving on a large portion of this, and then through budget and other activities be able to engage council on how we continue to make momentum in all of these. And I do want to address the tracking. It's our intention as CLT to work on a tracking reporting methodology that we would bring back to council in Q1 of 2025 to start putting that on a regular reporting schedule, giving council the level of detail they're looking for and the confirmation of progress or issues, concerns, delays, whatever is coming up on each of those items, and keeping council and the public fully informed on what's going on. And so with that, if there's any questions or comments, I'm here.
Thank you, Acting CAO Clark. Are there questions of Acting CAO Clark of technical nature? We do have a delegate, and then we will have opportunity for discussion later. But are there any technical questions at the present time? Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair. At this time, I mean, obviously receiving, it's not in its final form. I just want to be very clear what we're potentially discussing and voting on this evening. It's really just sort of a presented action plan in essentially draft form with the idea that it would move forward to a final draft. Is that the correct interpretation here?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. So this is the draft of it being presented to council. If council approves the goals and action items that are identified within this plan, then that would form the basis or form the final plan that Kelly indicated his team is putting together, and that would not come back to council because it would simply represent everything that's decided tonight at council, and it would be provided as a document to finalize and close the loop, hopefully before the end of the year, this year.
Thank you, Acting CAO Clark. Did that answer the question, Councillor Wilkinson? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I now invite Barry Wolf to address council. Barry, you have 7 minutes to speak. Okay, looks like Carly's willing to do that. Thank you. Okay, so do you want to do your presentation now, Barry?
Good evening.
If I may, Chair,
Good
Councillor Wilkinson?
could I ensure that a copy of the handed out material is reserved for me, please, and put in my mailbox?
Yes, so Councillor Wilkinson's asking for a copy. So we have a copy that we can put in his, yeah, so we have people saying they'll put it in your mailbox. Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson.
Just as an intro, before I begin, I will be giving an electronic copy to the clerk to add to the official minutes of this meeting. And it'll be, I'm going to try to...
Okay, so so there'll be an electronic copy as well that Councillor Wilkinson can see.
Councillors all would have received this earlier, but I only had it since Wednesday.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good evening, and good evening to Deputy Clerk Caitlin, who appears to be, for tonight at least, sitting in the boss chair. Pun intended. Speaking of chairs, did you know that current health and safety criteria specify that office roller chairs must have a minimum of 5 arms and roller wheels? Look down. Look at your chairs. You can't sit safely on a 4-legged chair, let alone on a one-legged stool. This report before you this evening is a one-legged stool. Council cannot lead and direct staff to manage an efficient, effective corporation based on a design plan that will, as described on page 2 of the report, quote, direct the operations of the corporation over the term of council, and it consists of only one leg. Successful corporations are financially stable, have executive boards that provide direction that is driven by its customers' needs, is data-based, and uses clear, specific instructions to its administrative staff. The direction is based on regular reporting, has tracking systems to ensure projects' completions, and has accountability procedures. They have high levels of commitment and competence among their hired staff. There's normally low turnover, nor a need for it. They provide goods or services that meet their customers' clients' needs, citizens, their interests, their values, their needs, their wants, their goals, their aspirations. They do so by asking the customer citizens constantly for updates in real time. They have efficient and effective strategies and systems in place which facilitate communication between the executive board and its hired administrative staff, communication out to its customers, the citizens, and communication in from the customers, the citizens, to provide external signaling about when the corporation is off track and requires early warning of a need for redirection, just like a GPS in your car does. They have timely reporting systems, clear, firm, fair tracking accountability systems. They have a high degree of involvement by and trust within its customers, identified as a goal, and they have a sophisticated communication planning system that is fully integrated. An efficient, effective, fiscally responsible organization plans. Planning is not a one-legged stool. Planning is comprehensive, coordinated, and tested against the criteria of needs as defined by its customers. Competent planning requires many legs put in place simultaneously, the 5 W's. One leg is strategic planning. It discovers the what and the why, 2 W's, as expressed by its citizens. The second leg is implementation planning. This describes the how and the when with comprehensive, regular detail of the reporting and accountability criteria. A third leg is personnel planning. This describes who does what, when, where. A fourth leg is the communication planning. It's all the strategies I've outlined about, between, out, in, among. The fifth leg is reporting and accountability planning. This describes the content, the format, the detail, and the timing in reports of the information that is being communicated, as outlined above. And the last leg is the transition plan. This describes the management plan that will be used to move the change from the existing organizational management plan to the new one. All of the above 5 plans must be coordinated on a timeline and costing basis to change the direction of the operations of the corporation over the term of council, and that's a quote. And if any of you get reelected, it serves the basis for a review in the first 6 months of the next term. And that internal review will save us $46,104 to not have to do it again. The first step in an implementation plan is a gap analysis. This is an evaluation of the gap between the contents of the existing plan and the one being proposed. What's the same? What's different? What's added? What's left out? You recognize that if this report is approved tonight, everyone's work legally changes as of tomorrow morning. It's like popping a balloon on New Year's Eve. Out with the old plan, in with the new. It's legally binding. Out, in. I want to do a gap analysis quiz with you, but I don't want to waste time. I've got the answers. In the strategic plan proposed tonight, there are how many goals? 4. How many strategies? He showed you, 11. How many action work tasks? He told you, 39. On the existing strategic plan, as of this minute tonight, that's going to change. That's different than what's going to be when people come to work tomorrow morning. Right now, we have 5 goals, 17 strategies, and 76 actions work tasks. The number shows that there's going to be a dramatic, significant change in how this corporation operates as of the beginning of the day tomorrow morning. And there is no accommodation in any of the reports that I've seen, either from staff or from the consultant, of how you're going to do that. It includes 6 values. Where do those values come
1
from?
minute left, Barry.
I participated in both of those things, and at no time were values discussed, either on the survey or in the 2 one-hour sessions. So, what am I suggesting? I'm recommending that you take a look at that sheet that I handed you. And I'm recommending, number 1, you hire a competent person to fill the position of manager of communications and strategic initiatives as soon as possible. No way let that position become restructured and become vacant. You gotta hire somebody for that position. 2, receive only this report from the consultant. 3, direct staff to inform Linton Consulting Services that their work is suspended and we don't need any more in-house design, word-for-word formatting. You've got a copy of what it's going to look like. It's just not on pretty paper. It's just going to take the word draft out of it. That's all it's going to change. 4, table, definitely.
So the 7 minutes are up, Barry. Okay. Are there any questions for our delegation?
I would invite a councillor to ask me to finish in 2 minutes.
Councillor Wilkinson?
Through the chair, could we ask Mr. Wolf to summarize his closing argument?
We could have a vote. So do council, we would need to have 4 out of 5 people to have Barry Wolf continue with his presentation. So do you want to have a vote to continue the presentation?
Of course I would.
Okay, so all those in favor? So that's 3. All those opposed?
3 out of 5 is the majority.
So for this, this would go against the bylaws to give you additional time for your presentation. There are questions that can be allowed about your presentation, but not to continue the presentation. So Councillor Wilkinson, if you want to ask a question not to continue the presentation, but about his presentation, you can ask that.
Just point of order. I have attached to my handout some suggested ask me questions, of which Mr. Wilkinson
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Mr. Wilkinson doesn't have that advantage.
Right. Is there something you want to ask, Councillor Wilkinson?
Through the chair, Barry, if you would, in your experience, where have you seen a gap analysis and transition plan between strategic plans?
It happens in any large corporation. I have a master's degree in administration. I've been an administrator. I've led unions. I've been an administrator in the education field. We always do a gap analysis before we go. It's part of what we call the CRDI model, Curriculum Review, Development, and Implementation. I've done a presentation on that at a previous council meeting. It's how you review. The curriculum, in this case, it's a planning operation, and you have to have all legs of the chair in place. You have to have everything done on a cost analysis basis. I've outlined the 5 legs on the stool, and that you do the review, which is this part, then you do the...
So I'm going to stop you, Barry. Councillor Wilkinson had asked where you've seen it, and I think, have you answered that?
I was going to say what I had seen. That's what I was...
Point of order. I'd like to challenge the chair's ruling on this. Mr. Wolf is providing context to his answer.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. The first part, what we've received tonight is a strategic plan. That's only part of how you implement change. If you just implement a strategic planning part, that is the what and the why, you don't know where you're going. You don't know the answers to the other 5 W's. The where, the how, and the who. You don't have any of those answers, and you can't implement change at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning not knowing any of those answers. So that's why usually a consultant, but most often the administration itself provides those 5 plans. You've got this is brought in draft form, you receive it and you table it. Then you direct staff, as I've indicated in my outline here, and that's my experience of what you do for an efficient, effective, cost-effective corporation. You have to have the implementation plan. How do you implement, put this into progress? And the implementation plan, first of all, has to be the gap analysis. How is it different? What's the same? What's different? What's left out? I'll give you an example what was left out in this.
I'm going to stop you. I think this is continuing on with a longer presentation. Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Barry. But with all due respect, we had our senior leadership team, our councillors, constituents, our staff spend quite a bit of time identifying gaps, identifying things that we needed to get our jobs done, to make the township more efficient. And that all went into this report, not to mention the fact that I believe that the consultants that we used were very well trained and did a great job. So I will be supporting this report, but I believe
maybe I'll just stop you, Councillor Dunstall. I think it's moving into a debate, and we don't want to get into...
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Thank you, Your Excellence. But I did want to make sure that I get that out there, that our staff, our leadership team, everybody came to the table, willing to work, rolled up their sleeves and did that. And I think we've got a great report from that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Dunstall. Are there any other questions for our delegation? Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that the corporation now has a top-down and the citizens do not have...
Thank you, Barry. That's okay. All right. So now moving back to the report that we have. Are there comments, questions that council would like to make about the report? Councillor Sidhu.
Thank you, Councillor Cressman. Just before we move forward, about the report, this is a big deal. This is our strategic plan moving forward over the next 4 years. Having just got the final draft on Wednesday, I don't really feel like I had the time to take it to constituents and talk about it as much as I would like to. Also, the fact that the mayor is not currently present. This is a decision of council, all of council, and the mayor being the head of council, I believe she should have a vote on this. So I would be raising a motion that we defer to the next meeting so our mayor can be here to vote on this motion.
So is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Wilkinson? Okay. So moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. And just to rephrase, so you're saying that we defer to our next meeting? Okay. Questions on this motion? Councillor Dunstall?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. There have certainly been times because of family situations where I was not able to vote on motions. That's one of the risks we take when we have to skip meetings for personal reasons or for health reasons. So I would be opposing this motion.
Councillor Sadhu?
Yeah, and to that point, I do appreciate that. However, from my understanding, the mayor has given 6 or 7 weeks notice that tonight she would not be able to attend, and it was still scheduled for tonight. So I understand if it's something like an agenda item, 11.4, the Community Services Master Plan. We've seen it time and time again. We only got the final draft of this on Wednesday, so we haven't had the ample amount of time to digest it. So I would just stick to that fact then.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, we're discussing now this motion, which is about time and place. So we're not approving the report, we're not discussing the report. This motion is about time and place. I wonder if I could ask people on my right in terms of leadership team if there's any reaction to deferring. And I also don't know, would it be inappropriate to ask, since our consultants are here, to ask their opinion on deferring deferring until our possibly next meeting? I don't know, Greg, if you have thoughts on that.
Through you, Chair. In terms of deferring, I would say that this information builds on conversations we've had since June. The outline of the goals and the objectives was shared at our August meeting. There's been some minor tweaks in terms of some deliverables. And at the end of the day, what's critical about this is it enables us to move forward and start planning. So by giving us those objectives and those goals, it gives the organization marching orders to develop implementation strategies, bring back budget asks, develop staffing plans, and
I'm just going to call a point of order. People in the gallery, I'm going to ask that you show respect. I'm going to ask that there be respect given to the meeting. Okay, Acting CEO Clark.
Thank you, Chair. And as I was saying, this is a culmination of a lot of work that happened over the last 6 months. And while the final package might be new, the information contained within it has been circulated and shared and input from Council for the last 6 months. And deferring it, I don't see any value in that there's going to be new information or new discovery around this. This is the package that Council helped staff build and bring back through our consultant. And so I would really encourage Council to consider approving this and giving us our marching orders as budget is fast approaching, as my next report will speak to. And we have lots of work to get on with.
I'm going to ask you to throw me out, and I'm going to say this. At the open house, there were only 31 people there.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Let's take a recess. So we are now taking a 5-minute recess. Township Council meeting. We're resuming our meeting at 8:13. I saw Councillor Wilkinson's hand up. Is your hand up, Councillor Wilkinson?
It is. Through the chair. A couple points there with regards to interim CAO Clark's remarks. I've scanned this information thoroughly and looked at it a couple times, but to be fair, and as far as I know, this finalized report in its draft form has been released to the public and us as council members as of Wednesday. We met as a group on August 12th. We reviewed some survey findings, yet to see the raw data released directly to us. We had a question earlier to discuss that, and I agree that would be very insightful and helpful. I also think that given that we met on the 12th, the survey had closed prior to that meeting, and then there was public engagement sessions on Thursday, September 19th, and we're now seeing the draft report. We haven't had a chance to go back and dissect this and have real conversations with the people that matter in this township. This is a very heavy document. It's a very important document that guides our work moving forward. And I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job as a councillor if I didn't ask and support for a pause in this situation, simply because we haven't had the opportunity to go back and get the direct feedback and converse with the constituents that need us to have that conversation. So while I appreciate a lot of work has gone into this and a lot of work will follow this, this is a very key juncture, and passing it tonight would be premature in its current form.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just want to ask Councillor Wilkinson, what is it exactly you're looking for? We all sat in those meetings, we all agreed, we all identified what we, when I say we, I mean yourself, our senior leadership team and staff identified where we thought the gaps were and where we thought we needed to do things to become more efficient. So, and everything in that document we discussed at length. And so I'm just not sure what it is exactly that you're questioning or that you're looking for to get what it is that you are not getting at this point.
Through the chair, and I appreciate your question, Councillor Dunstall. The last consultation and conversation, that we had about this document and its content was on August 12th for 6 hours. Most of the time was spent debating and conversing about what we'd like to see in it. This is the first time that we have seen a finalized draft report. And this is set out to basically guide the work that needs to be done in this township for the next 3 to 4 years. It would be highly inappropriate to pass it at this juncture without a couple more weeks to go back and converse and review it again. We cannot just sit on this for 3 business days and then come to the table and say, yep, everything's great. It's not. This is the first time we're seeing a draft summary of all the information and input that went into this. We absolutely owe it to our citizens and the taxpayers of this township to dedicate more time and effort into conversations with them in regards to the content in this plan that will lay out the work for the future of this township. That's our job.
Okay, Councillor Dunstall and Councillor Wilkinson, the clerk is telling me that we need to have our vote because we do have a motion on the floor about time and place. So do I need to ask if we're okay with the question, or shall we just go and call the question? So the motion, Councillor Wilkinson is wanting to say something.
Could you just clarify what the motion before us is, please?
Yeah, the clerk will read it.
The motion that is on the table is that council defers the consideration of this motion to the November 4th, 2024 regular council meeting.
Okay, so let's, we'll have the question. How many in favor of deferral? Oh, okay, so we have...
Recorded vote, please.
Okay, we can do a recorded vote. So in favor of deferral, so I guess then I would start with... okay, sorry. I apologize. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Martin. So the recorded vote is in order of ward. So we will begin with Councillor Cressman.
Opposed?
In favor.
Councillor Dunstall.
Opposed.
Councillor Wilkinson.
In favor.
And Chair Martin.
Opposed?
The motion is defeated.
Okay, so the main motion of accepting the report, do I have that right? So the motion is on the floor to accept the report. Are there comments, questions about the report? Councillor Cressman.
So this would be to acting CAO Clark. I think I remember your name. In terms of implementation, we'll have the opportunity, or staff will then go forward in looking at implementation and come forward with costs of some of these things for consideration by council. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. So in my experience, typically what we would do is we, as a leadership team with our managers, work on identifying the priorities in here that we can implement, bring back a timeline to council about what that looks like, the resources required or the resources we may already have, and then that, as you say, gets approved as part of a budget ask with a timeline attached, deliverables attached, and a reporting schedule attached. And so some of those items may come through this budget, some of them may come through successive budgets as we move along through the deliverables.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just want to say that I took offense to the statement that we would be doing a disservice to our constituents. That would indicate that if I vote for this, that I don't care about my constituents. That is not true. We spent a lot of time on this. We rolled up our sleeves. I certainly went to the table with the voice of my constituents in my ear, as I'm sure everyone else did. So I take offense to that, Councillor Wilkinson.
Point of order.
Councillor
Chair,
Wilkinson.
I would like an opportunity to respond. Councillor Dunstall, to be fair, you didn't see this finalized report until Wednesday last week. So, no, you haven't consulted with everybody thoroughly. And this is irresponsible at this point. It is a conclusive work plan. Don't get me wrong. It needs more thought, and we should be bringing it back for further consultation. Not in favor tonight.
Councillor Cressman.
So this is where I have issue, because I think it's a strategic plan gives you the overall framework. The specifics of the work plan are up to the leadership team. And that's where we have a second opportunity to look at the plans that the leadership team put together. I would remind you, Councillor Wilkinson, you didn't make the first planning session that we had, and yet now we're rushing this. So I'm quite concerned that we had ample opportunity to have input. We will continue to have ample opportunity to have input into the finer details as the leadership team puts this together for our consideration to implement. And I think this is a high-level framework. My experience has been your work plans year by year fall out of the strategic plan about what you're going to implement that year. You then get a roadmap of saying, this we achieved, this we achieved, this we achieved. I've gone through this multiple times with multiple organizations, and I think it's realistic to have a strategic plan that is the overarching piece of this. I don't see it as the final detail specific that is going to constrain us, because we will have ample opportunity to get feedback in the specifics.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, Councillor Cressman, I certainly appreciate your thoughts on this. And what I'm hearing is that we're going to have to really hope and depend that the work plans do come forward and that we're able to look at it and ensure that the work is going to be lined up in a timely manner and in an appropriate order. But in response to your point about me being unable to attend the first meeting, despite my efforts to identify that I was unable to make that due to a work commitment, I was basically told by staff at the time that they weren't going to move the meeting to accommodate all the councillors. So I lost out on that opportunity, which is unfortunate.
Are there other comments, questions? I have a few thoughts myself. I have very much been in favor of this strategic planning process. I think the 2 meetings that our consultants led us through in June and in August were very helpful. We have had community engagement, and I think now we're able to move forward. So unless there's anything else are you raising your hand, Councillor Wilkinson?
Just, through the chair, I'd like a recorded vote, please.
Sure, we can do a recorded vote. So unless there's any other questions or comments, then we'll have the vote. This is to receive the report. Am I saying that right? That we're voting on receiving the report.
Okay, Councillor Cressman.
The chair, point of clarity.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I did ask a question of interim CAO Clark, who had indicated that essentially approving the report this evening sets in motion plans to move forward. So I would disagree with the understanding that we're simply receiving the report for information.
Okay, I apologize. So I was saying receiving the report, and you're right, Councillor Wilkinson. It's good that you've clarified that. We're receiving and that the 2024 Strategic Action Plan as presented in attachment 2 be approved. So you're right. It's a good clarification. Thank you.
Councillor Cressman.
In favor?
Councillor Wilkinson.
Opposed?
Councillor Sadhu.
Opposed?
Councillor Dunstall.
In favor.
Councillor Martin.
In favor.
The motion carries.
Okay, that moves us to 11.2. I will read the recommendation that report COR-2024-52 be received and that the dates listed in Appendix A be approved to carry out the presentation, deliberation, and approval of the 2025 operating and capital budgets of the Township of Wilmot. May I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. I invite Acting Chief Administrative Officer, Director of Corporate Services, CFO Greg Clark, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. Council, I am going to acknowledge that Councillor Cressman asked me a few months ago if I thought the dates were achievable, and I made the commitment that I've always met those dates, and today I'm here to tell you that I need a little bit more time. We need a little bit more time, and really it comes from a number of items that have taken more staff capacity, whether that's dealing with the regional land assembly issues, dealing with the absence of our CIO, Prime Minister's path. Other things have taken more time than I had anticipated as well. I'm new on the scene, and I think maybe I bit off a little bit more than I thought I could chew. And so what I'm asking today is that we defer the start of budget by a month. So we'd release the budget on December 2nd. We'd have a presentation December 9th, break for Christmas, and come back in January with public engagement and public delegation, and then approval on January 16th. So it still allows us to approve the budget early in the new year, enabling staff to move forward with operational decisions, capital budget decisions, moving forward on procurement in a timely manner. But it gives us a few more critical weeks to make sure that we get the right budget and the right documentation in front of council and the public so that the right decisions can be made in January.
Thank you, Acting CIO Clark. Are there questions, comments about this schedule adjustment? Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I certainly don't speak for everyone, but I appreciate the transparency in terms of asking for time. And I think you've laid out a reasonable plan, and I hope we can get through it in a reasonable time.
I agree with Councillor Wilkinson. I think that Acting CEO Clark, there's no shame in needing to move the time back. We've been short-staffed, and there's been numerous things that have affected it. So it looks like we could have the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimously carried that we've approved this change in schedule. 11.3 CS-2024-27 award of Wilmot Recreation Complex refrigeration plant replacements. I'll read the recommendation that report CS 2024-27 award of Wilmot Recreation Complex refrigeration plant replacements be received for information, and that Council approve awarding to Simcoe Refrigeration A Division of Toromont Industries in the amount of $750,000 excluding taxes by means of the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada, and that Council approve an additional $100,000 in budget to replace the Wilmot Recreation Complex refrigeration plant funded from the Infrastructure Renewal Capital Reserve Fund in brackets 6125. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. I invite Director of Community Services, Chris Catania, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well read there. Just these components within the Wilmot Recreation Complex are at end of life. This award is to ensure adequate timing to replace these assets in the spring of 2025 during the off-season. Happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Councillor Cressman.
Yes, I noticed that the end of life for the old unit approached a little quicker than anticipated. I think it was estimated to have a 20-year life span, and corrosion kind of shortchanged that. Is there any improvements in the new unit or things, steps taken to ensure that we can get maximum life out of the new unit?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Cressman, that is correct. We have looked for some efficiencies. We're looking at replacing these assets with assets that have about a 40-year lifespan. There will be, after about 10-year intervals, there'll be some sort of heavy maintenance that goes with it, and as well with these new components. Compared to the old chiller components, we don't have to have as much of an ammonia charge for refrigeration in that plant.
I had the same question as Councillor Cressman, and I appreciate Director Catania that information. 40 years seems like a good amount of time. And, well, I was going to ask a question about ammonia, but I think that gets more complex, so I won't maybe go there. But I appreciate that, so thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I'm happy to hear that we're certainly going to recover some of the spending back through an upgraded, more efficient unit, especially in the way of purchasing ammonia and having that. But I'm curious, as with the outgoing unit, even though it's potentially at end of life, is there an opportunity, or are we exploring options to salvage some of the cost related to that? Can we sell scrap parts or anything like that from the unit itself?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Wilkinson, it's something we can explore with our award as well for any of that scrap metal. Generally speaking, it's really not salvageable as a end of life kind of an ammonia vessel that it is, but something that we definitely can explore. But also further note, with the new units that we're looking at, we're working with Innova Power as well, where we can look at certain rebates that come with some of the energy efficiencies with the new asset replacements.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Looks like we could call the question. All those in favor? That's unanimously carried. So this is 11.4 CS 2024-28-2024 Community Services Master Plan. Did I read out the numbers properly? I don't know who pays attention, and I'm sure that we have to have them recorded properly because there's a lot of these things. I will now read the recommendation that report CS-2024-28, 2024 Community Services Master Plan be received for information, and that Council approve the 2024 Community Services Master Plan for implementation as presented in this report. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Dunstall. May I have a seconder? Moved by Councillor Sadhu. I invite Director of Community Services, Chris Catania, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is to provide Council with information and seek approval on the Community Services Master Plan resulting from the key findings of the situational analysis report and extensive community outreach and stakeholder engagement. We've been at this process for pretty much almost a year with our consultants, so we're at that final product. The Community Services Master Plan was developed based on the needs and the requirements of its residents. The Master Plan has 7 strategic themes with a total of 139 recommendations over 10 years. The recommendations are grouped by subject area that include aquatics, asset management, community halls, ice pads, parks, programming, policy, administration, and communications. Various communications channels have been employed along with a direct email to all community groups, service clubs, special event organizers, and sporting user groups to seek final input clarifications before presenting this to Council for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Thank you, Director Catania. We have one registered delegation for this item, so I now invite Sandra Glaze to address Council. Sandra, you have 7 minutes to speak.
Thank you. And I ask you are going to let me know when I have 1 minute left? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council and the municipal leaders in Wilmot. On August 26, 2024, I made a presentation at the Wilmot Township Council meeting regarding the Community Services Master Plan. And when I brought up the issue of sexual assaults happening at rec centers across Canada, Mayor Salonen was quick to shut the delegation down and informed me and the gallery that the report was at its preliminary stage when it turns out, as Mr. Catania just said, the report was initiated in November of 2023 and well on its way to being finalized. The Community Services Master Plan is apparently complete and is being presented tonight as for final approval. On September 23, 2024, a consultant firm, McQueen Galloway Associates, MGA, presented additional information on the Township of Wilmot, what was called a draft master plan, yet on the second page it's titled "Congratulations on completing a master plan," leaving a lot of questions. Although the presentation was made by the consultants of MGA, there's much of the report that was not clear. What was failed to be outlined in the report to the people of Wilmot was the following. It failed to take into account the outline of the plans for the 15 residential builds already planned for the towns of New Hamburg and Baden of approximately 2,580 residential units, which would house approximately 10 to 12,000 people. Now, I do realize in the final report, they have reviewed their numbers, and now they're saying the population of Wilmot is at 21,825, and in the year 2034, there's going to be 25,000 people with an addition of 4,000 people. It also said there's going to be 600 children that come into the community from now until 2034, but you're building 2 brand new schools that don't make any sense. One's at Wilmot Wood, and the other one is 1012 Schneider Road. Township of Wilmot has identified itself as being part of the Smart Region of Waterloo Plan. It clearly states in the Community Services and Systems section what areas of people's lives that this is going to affect, and these bullet points are in the challenge summary. Arts and culture, economic development, education and training, land use planning and development, public health, recreation and parks, roads and transportation, and social services. On a phone call with Director Catania, he clearly stated that in the Community Services Department he runs, they only deal with recreation centers, when obviously there's more aspects to the plan that are taken into consideration, as stated in the challenge summary for Waterloo Region. Of note is missing in the draft master plan report is the mention that Wilmot Township Person of the Year recipient, Stephanie Goetz, a long-term resident of Wilmot, is the founder and lead volunteer of Waterloo Region Grassroots Response to Ukraine Crisis and relocates Ukraine immigrants to the community. The award was granted in the area of community service, which obviously involves immigration. In the presentation by MGA Consultants, they stated there will be a labor need in the community to fill in order to complete the community services plan, yet no mention of where this was going to come from. People can go back and watch the September 23rd presentation. Some of that was the verbal presentation. There's no mention of where this labor force is sourced. The omissions and subsequent questions this report raises is staggering and impossible for the public to fully grasp what the overall plan includes. Is Wilmot planning on increasing immigration through Ukrainian immigrants? In the report, it stated MGA recognizes financial pressure facing Wilmot Township with all the plans to complete the Community Services Master Plan agenda, when on August 19th in 2024 at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Conference in Ottawa, Doug Ford announced Invest Ontario, and he made it very clear people in all municipalities could go on that portal and find the funding they need to complete these jobs. What I thought was odd was on the September 23rd meeting, Council and Mayor Salonen voted a 2% property tax increase for the residents of Wilmot Township, knowing that these properties were going to be funded elsewhere. What it does not say is who's going to be the source of these funds through this portal, and it does not say who's going to own the properties when all this is said and done. Wilmot's talking about being financially sound, and the problem is a lot of these communities that you're building up are on municipally owned land, which makes people wonder exactly how many assets does the Township of Wilmot own, and what is your source of revenue that you have so many assets that you can build these residential builds on, and you're going to basically be the landlord. That's what's coming out of that. What was concerning is on top of the region of Waterloo's proposed up to 8% tax increase that Karen Redmond is in the works of discussing now. And we do have to understand that the township is part of the region. It's all dovetailed. It's all together. We have to look at that. Does that mean there's going to be a 10% increase for the people in Wilmot and an 8% for the people of the region of Waterloo? What does that mean? It's very unclear. The second page of the report, congratulations on completing a master plan, defines a clear and strategic vision when nothing could be further from the truth. Perhaps it is time to show the people of Wilmot what the mayor, council, municipal leaders who've been here for 20 years and staff are planning, as these roles all work in tandem. The long-term vision was based on...
So let me just stop you, Sandra. There's almost a little over a minute left, but I'm trying to understand how it fits with the strategic master plan.
This is the community master plan.
Or like community master plan.
So this is, have you read the community master plan? The draft came out Wednesday, right? Yes, because I saw it Wednesday. And the final, I think, Caitlin just sent me today. So a lot of this information is in there. What I'm saying is these things should be taken into consideration with the community master plan. How do you know how many people you're going to be shipping out to the different municipalities to go and use the rec centers if you don't know how many people are coming? This report now is changed to say 4,000 people are coming in the next 10 years. When you're building projects as development apps, clearly state that you've got 10 to 12,000 people that you're putting residential areas in. That's not even the satellite communities in Peterborough, St. Agatha, all the other areas. So what I'm saying is none of this adds up. I always notice it's really funny that I'm always the one who gets interrupted when I'm delegating. But I'd like to finish.
It's just because
It does make sense.
You need to be on topic, but why don't you finish?
It does make sense. I am on topic. I went through your master plan, the draft plan here, wrote some notes, went through the other ones. I'm noticing the things that I'm pointing out are still missing. There's no accountability for what you're planning for population growth. There's no accountability for what you're planning for labor sources. There's no accountability for who's going to be running the aquatics program, who's going to be running the gymnasium programs. All it says in the plan that came out today was all the existing schools that exist, and it talks about having to go through the principal, which is Mayor Salonen's mother, who also, she's on the W with Waterloo Education Foundation, Inc. So there's so many pieces of the puzzle that are not taken into consideration when we're looking at the overall plan. Okay. We don't even know the ages or the sexes of the people that you're planning on bringing in, but you're setting up community services.
So I will ask you, I did give you a bit more time because I did interrupt you, but are there any questions of our delegate at this time?
I will send this out to everyone tomorrow because I didn't get a chance to finish it, and then it gives everybody a chance.
Yeah, you're welcome to send it to us. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you. Do members of council have any comments or questions regarding the community services report? Councillor Cressman.
Through you, Acting Mayor, to Director Catania, I asked this question and I think I have clarity in one of the one of the paragraphs here, I think it's on page 2, near the bottom paragraph, talking about if we accept this report, it doesn't automatically mean that every recommendation that is in either short-term, medium-term, or long-term will be implemented. They will be costed at the time of implementation. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Cressman, that is correct. What we would do is we'd be looking at the operational and any type of capital impact, like when we look at our 10-year capital plan, but also every annual operating budget as well. Based on some of the recommendations that do have some financial impacts, they will be brought forward at that time as well. Council will have the decision-making power whether or not we sometimes would go ahead with that, depending on our financial strategy.
Are there other comments, questions of council? Councillor Wilkinson?
Through the chair, I will just clarify a point that Ms. Glaze had brought forward. This will be, I believe, the third reading of this master plan in its entirety. We've discussed it as well as seen the situational analysis. So this one's been discussed multiple times.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Are there other comments, questions? So we need to have the vote then. Do we need to reread the vote, or does everybody understand? Okay. So all those in favor? So that's unanimously carried and approved. And I want to say, Director Catania, it seems to me it was either last meeting or 2 meetings ago that it felt like your department was at the end of the meeting. It might have been 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I even said to you, I feel bad that we may have shortchanged your department. And so I want to thank you for your hard work of your department and for coming forward with this plan. So thank you. Okay, now moving forward on the bylaws, I will read the recommendation that bylaws as attached to this agenda be read a first, a second, and third time, and finally passed in open council. Do I have a mover? Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. I will now call the vote. All those in favor? So that is unanimously carried. Okay, notices of motion, there are none. I believe we're at the announcements. So, Councillor Dunstall, you have some announcements, and I have a lot of announcements. So why don't you go first? Do other councillors have announcements? Councillor Cressman. So, Councillor Dunstall, Councillor Cressman, anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, through your Highness. The 5th annual New Hamburg Optimist pumpkin carving event is taking place this Saturday, October 26th. You pick up your pumpkin behind the New Hamburg Fire Hall, and that starts at 10 o'clock. And then you go home and you carve it and you bring it back for 6 o'clock, and then you watch the magic. And a new feature this year, which is being hosted by the Junior Optimist, is they will be having 2 zombie walks. And that's open to kids up to 18 years of age. New Hamburg Legion, their Poppy campaign kicks off this Friday, October 25th, with Poppy boxes being placed at 91 locations across Wilmot. I also wanted to note that it's very moving to see the memorial banners. They're all up again, and I know a lot of family members stand underneath those banners and take pictures with their loved ones. I would encourage everyone, if you're downtown, to take a look. It's something to see. And last but not least, if you like cabbage rolls, the Wilmot Optimist is hosting at the Legion on November 1st. A cabbage roll is $20, includes taxes and gratuities. Support the Optimist and the Legion. Thank you.
Yes, this is just an announcement of the New Dundee Board of Trade and I guess in cooperation with the Ward 1 councillor. We're having a crime prevention community conversation at the New Dundee Community Centre Thursday, November the 7th at 7 p.m. One of the I was going to call him Staff Sergeant, but he isn't. He's a Staff Superintendent Goodman is going to be speaking about how to improve safety around your home, things you can do to reduce crime and vandalism, and I think it would be something that prevention is worth what is it, ounce of cure or something like that? A pound of cure. Thank you. So I think that was the whole intent of the evening.
Thank you, Councillors Dunstall, Councillor Cressman. There's many notable observances, and I want to thank Carly for helping me put all of these together. Since 2016, the Ontario government has officially recognized October as Islamic Heritage Month. The month celebrates the contributions of Muslim Canadians and promotes understanding of Islamic culture and history. October is Women's History Month in Canada. It's a time to celebrate the achievements and contributions of women throughout history and reflect on the ongoing work being done across communities and sectors to advocate for gender equality. October celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month during the month of October. This observance was officially proclaimed in 2015 and recognizes the contributions of the Hispanic community to the province. October is Child Abuse Prevention Month, which aims to raise awareness about the prevention of child abuse and promote the protection of children in Ontario. I was previously on the board of the Wilmot Family Resource Centre, and they support Wilmot residents through different aspects of family violence prevention program. October is Lupus Awareness Month in Ontario, and the goal is to raise public awareness of lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease that affects thousands of people in the province. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where various campaigns and events take place to raise awareness about breast cancer, support survivors, and promote early detection. October is Learning Disabilities Awareness Month in Ontario, helping raise awareness about the challenges faced by individuals with learning disabilities and promoting support for them. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and in Ontario and across Canada, promoting awareness of cyber threats and the importance of online safety. And our IT department, Carl, he today noted an email that was sent to us that was a phishing email, so thank you, Carl and Rosh. October is designated as Healthy Workplace Month to promote the importance of mental and physical well-being in the workplace. On behalf of Wilmot Council, I extend our sincere appreciation to all Wilmot Township staff for their important work. There are some community events. Castle Kilbride is hosting Cinderella's Halloween Ball on Saturday, October 26th from 1 till 4. This is a ticketed event. Tickets are $30 for ages 5 to 11. Kids are encouraged to attend in their favorite costume. I wish I was between the ages of 5 to 11. There's the New Hamburg Blood Donor event happening on Monday, October the 28th from 2 to 8 p.m. at Steinman Mennonite Church, 1316 Snyders Road West in Baden. Please book your appointment via www.blood.ca, the Give Blood app, or by calling, and it's 1-888-2-DONATE. Halloween is Thursday, October the 31st. I guess we're not meeting again before Halloween. We all have a role to play in keeping our youngest residents safe on this spooky and exciting night. The community players of New Hamburg are presenting the play Our Town by Thornton Wilder, November 7 to 16. I'm actually in that play. I'm the police. I've been learning about police budgets, but really I'm only one constable in a small town, so there's not much of a budget. That's Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And the Wilmot Council is hosting a Wilmot Community Conversation on Public Safety on November the 18th. And that's from 7 to 8 p.m. at the New Hamburg Community Center. There will be more details following. And the last event that I'm advertising is Tuesday, November the 12th. There's first community gatherings, and that has to do with the Prime Minister's Path, Wilmot's Prime Minister's Path. There's this meeting Tuesday, November the 12th, 4:30 to 8 p.m. at the Wilmot Rec Complex. So many things happening, wonderful things in our township. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being at our meeting tonight, and adjourn. Oh, no, can't adjourn. Sorry. Oh, yes, we got to have a confirmatory bylaw. Can't adjourn, please hold back. Okay, I will now read the recommendation that the confirmatory bylaw as attached to this agenda be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed in open council. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cressman, Councillor Dunstall seconded. I will now call the vote. All those in favor? Everybody unanimously voted in favor of that adjournment. I now read the recommendation that we adjourn to meet again at the call of the mayor. May I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Dunstall, Councillor Cressman, and all in favor? Unanimously approved to adjourn. Now I can use the gavel.